The Therapist and the Coach podcast is a space for real relational conversations about what it means to be human.
In a world obsessed with fixing, achieving, and self help, we invite you to pause, lean in, and discover the wisdom already inside.
Together, we explore how healing, growth, and transformation can happen not in isolation, but in connection.
Through open hearted dialogue, we challenge the myth of self regulation and self improvement, offering instead co regulation, psychological safety, and the power of being seen. Happy New Year, Lerae!
Happy New Year, Oren.
This is the first podcast of 2026.
Not only that, but the podcast is launched, which is super exciting too.
Super exciting. Super exciting. And people can look at that and it's going to be on our website, right? It's going to be on my website at the beginning.
And it will be on my and your YouTube channel. We are posting separately, but we have two separate businesses. We're figuring all that out. But the fun thing is that we've jumped in and just started this so spontaneously, so open-heartedly, and we're figuring all the details out, which is fun because I think it's not necessarily the way business goes most often. It's, well, let's work out all the details, and I think we just we're just figuring out our stuff, but we just jumped into this, which I'm just looking
So
forward
I want to mention, like, in terms of, because I was speaking to you a little bit before we started
Yeah.
the podcast, and one of my clients is a A-list actor, and he looks at my website, and he was lit up because he said, like, and this guy is kind of usually very kind of like flat manner, kind of like, and he was lit up and said, like, I so much liked the content I liked. But he said, I so much like how you and Lerae are flowing and there is no agenda, and you're just so in the world today where everything is so structured and so polished and so manicured and designed. It's just the aliveness of both of you, that when you guys are talking, it just gets me to be connected, and that's so much something that we miss in this world today.
Yes.
It's
There's a lot of
unscripted, it's
irony.
unscripted being kind of like.
Yes, but there's a lot of irony in what you're saying, given that your client is an actor. And from the little acting experience I've had in classes I've taken, if
Scripted.
you're acting, you're actually it comes across as overacting and it doesn't feel real. But if you're being and really feeling and owning, embodying the character and what is present on the script, or I don't know, it's got a whole different thing.
He
So I
said
find deep
exactly,
irony in what
yeah.
you're
And
saying.
he said, no, and actually he said exactly that.
Oh, interesting.
He said, like, I wish actors would see that, and he's big. I cannot say his name,
Yeah, of
obviously,
course. I
because of
wouldn't have.
confidentiality, but um, he said, this is where people even actors are the best, because yes, they're going in the script, but they need to make them their own. And the ones that are actually getting into being themselves, they're comfortable enough, and most people are not comfortable enough to do that.
And
This
we
is
talk
where
about
this is
all the reasons why. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So here we go.
Neat. Okay. So yeah, this
Yes.
is we had talked at the end of our fifth episode there, before the Christmas holiday shenanigans,
Yeah,
that we were going to keep talking about this beautiful opportunity that we all have, and that is to listen a little more deeply.
yes, and I think that at the end of it, we kind of said, like, we may want to dive a little bit deeper into the neurobiology, interpersonal neurobiology of why it's so sometimes hard to listen, because we all say the right things: focus, being the present, clear your mind, doing all the right things to listen. But the thing is that you, me, we just, before we even met, we had a morning, we had last week, we have the holidays, we have our internal world that is constantly spiraling, and then we have to go and do things, including sometimes we want to listen. And the thing is that I know that so many of us, even when we are listening, we can, even right now, you and I in which we are listening to each other, while we're doing that, we might have a barrage of laundry list inside our head. And we don't even sometimes say, of course, we don't say it like we want to listen. But this pops up, that pops up. It might be so stressful the night before. It might be something from the past that come to the present that you don't even aware, but it's anxiety or it's depression, you don't have energy. There's so many factors that we don't talk about, that are just hampered our ability to be present and to be, in order to really listen. I think we want to be present. So there is a lot of something to say about, and I'm curious about your opinion about that. Is we're kind of like in a left brain society where we to do kind of things, and including we want to do to listen. And so what it is to listen, and we teach listening, but we ignore so many times what it is to be me, the one that wants to listen and needs to listen. And you're a leader at work or a supervisor, you have to listen to people, and you might be swamped with work and you don't want to be there right now. You sometimes want to, you sometimes don't, even things that you like doing. And so many times you just don't have the energy, or you cluttered inside. And we're never attending to that part of us that is so overwhelmed that has nothing to do with to do. It just had to do with being together. So the limbic system, the right brain, where all the water is just piling up on the pitcher that is going to kind of spill into the left side, and just kind of spilling it on the computer and
Mm.
render it incapable. So we might have really great listening skills, but we can't really execute them because we're overwhelmed, or because we're tired, or because so many reasons that each and one of us know what it means, that so many times it's hard. You want to listen to your kids and you can't. It's
Mm.
not even, it's like it starts with, and everyone. How many parents want to be there for the kids, and they just, after a day of work, and they're just so exhausted, and they just want to be present and want to listen. And the kid is just lying and wants to play and all that. And as much as you love your kid, you don't have much to give. So I usually tell parents, whenever whoever it is that have more capacity to be with the kid, just coordinate it. Whoever is more empty in a way, like empty in a way, in a good way, that there's not much going on, attend to the kid, rest, and come back to your kid for a quality time rather than quantity time, that you're not there. And your kid knows,
Mm.
and employees knows. And so I thought that today we can actually talk about that, about what it is to be us in so many times when we want to listen, and why so many times we are hampered, and what can we do actually about that. So it's like we really ignored, like, us, the ones that wants to listen, wants to be present, but we may be just so overwhelmed, and then we master our skills, our surviving skills, to be there even when we're not. And you know what? The other person knows.
You can't fake it.
You can't fake it.
There's so much in what you're saying as always. So, inherent in what you and I do, therapist, coach, there, and again, I also received the same skills and training through the counseling that I did way back when, um, the counseling education, but
Yeah,
it's inherent in what you're saying, or it's implied, I guess, is probably a more appropriate word, that you were saying things like, people want to listen. I What's implied in there, that there is sometimes not even an awareness.
exactly.
So there's a
Exactly.
continuum of awareness around listening that actually I think needs to be just acknowledged. I know that isn't necessarily what we're talking about today.
I think you're spot on.
And there's levels of listening.
Yes.
And then there's the, listening to self, listening
Yes.
because as we pointed out, we're always in relationship. So I can be in front of you, and the quality of my relationship is the quality of my presence, really. From a coaching perspective, so both as a coach and a practitioner, and also one who trains coaches, what's fascinating to me is that all of these things that you've just said culminate in a new coach, and this was me too, a new coach sitting in a coach education classroom thinking that they've been doing coaching because it's been a thing now for many years and people think they're coaching. They come into coach education and realize they're not coaching. And why? Because they're not listening. They're focused on results, all that doing stuff that you're talking about, which I believe, now again, this is just a hypothesis, but I believe that the part of what plays heavily into that is we were so rewarded for our doing our behaviors. We're so rewarded for them. And if I do have any unmet needs, I'm such a solution finder and an adapter as a human being. I'm so brilliant, even as a young child. I will figure out how to get those needs met through doing. Because we lack so much in the being, we don't often sit and just hold each other. We don't often just sit in silence or just being with. There's really no conditioning, no acknowledging or support for that space in us as we grow, especially in the environment that you referred to that is so focused on doing. So folks come to coach education and they're like, well, and then they get feedback on their coaching early on and they're all of a sudden their confidence is shot, they're confused, some people leave, like there's all kinds of reactions. And it comes down to, so great, you're not coaching because you're actually consulting, but because most people fall to that because that's the doing without the listening and without the presence, because you mentioned presence as often, I think I'd have to go back and count, but you mentioned as much as you did listening.
Hand
The
in
two
hand. Yeah.
really. So I guess the quandary that coaches are in, and I'm guessing a therapist, because I do just in the practice of listening. So become aware of the fact that it's a thing, that
Exactly.
it's a human relating thing.
Yes.
And then if you are in a space where you want to develop that skill or you want to connect more or you want to deepen your relationships or, whatever, it really is inherent and essential part of deepening, improving, connecting relationship with self, others.
Yes.
So yeah, I could carry on for the next half hour, but I'm just going to pause because there's lots I want to
And
say, but it's,
amen to whatever you said. I mean, it
mm,
is so true, And while you were talking, and you said like you assume that it's therapists too. It is, of course, therapists too. I mean, both therapists and coaches need to listen. Really, this is because listening is really listening is actually emitting energy. If we're really listening with only with skills, yes, yes, and then say the right question, and the other one becomes disconnected.
it's inauthentic. It's like the actor overacting. Hmm.
Exactly, and also when we are listening, but we're not really listening, there is no energy flow, and when there's no other energy flow, we didn't do anything. We could do all the right things, we didn't improve a thing, because the person, and I can imagine you can confirm that, but I will say that in with therapists, but also with coaches and leaders that they might take even a course about that, how to listen, how to do that, and then just sometimes they tell you, I took all these courses and all these things, and it's just another thing to do, and I'm just crammed with more. And I don't really, I'm getting more overwhelmed because it's another thing to do. And the coaches and the therapists are telling them or try to change how they are rather than be with what they need in order to move to where they want. But we're so geared, you said like in the consumerism, including that, we need to listen. We want to help the client, whatever the client is, a therapy client, a coach client, a leader, whoever that might be, by telling them what to do and even how to listen rather than be embodied with yourself. Have a conversation that you and I have that never scripted. We don't know. We might know the topic sometimes what we're going to talk,
Yeah,
but none
sometimes.
of it. But none of it is scripted.
Mhm.
Yet this is we're not teaching in a way anything. Yet we are modeling something of how to be.
Well, we
And
have intentions. We were very clear on our
yeah,
intentions. So that
oh,
was the
absolutely.
foundation that we bring into all of this. The intention was to just be with one another, actually.
Exactly, exactly. So it reminded me when therapists, you talk about the coaches when they're getting sometimes, and all of a sudden they're facing reality. Lots of therapists, lots. I don't know the percentages. I think there was like something like 25% or less of people who are going to study therapy to be therapy psychologists. Maybe a fraction of them actually doing that eventuality after study.
Yeah.
Because when and I have them so many times as as clients, therapist clients, or in different capacities, and they're so excited about, I learned about this and I learned about that approach and this approach, and it's all left brain. They're very interested in, because
Yeah.
it's interesting, you're teaching about it, and I think I want to do this and I think I want to do that. And I know from my experience that once they get into the field and start talking to somebody, and they so much want to help and change them, and all these dogmas or how to do that and how to help the client, and they really come with good intentions, but the reality is very different of what needs from them in order to change them. And if they don't really listen to what really needed, they will be washed out because it'll be so hard for them. It's like if you have a kid and you read all the books of what to do when you have a newborn. So okay, when they cry, I need to hold. When they diaper, I need to change the diaper. I need to attend that. All the things that you read from the book. And then Lerae, you have kids. Then when a baby is born and you might have nightless sleep and you're irritated and you just worked all day long and you love your toddler, your sweet son or daughter, but you're tired and you cannot really, you might hold them, but you're exhausted and the baby is getting that, not to fault you, you're a person, of course, but I'm saying this is what involves in parenting. So in other words, when people have newborns, you probably they tell them, oh yeah, I know about this. Like, well, you have an experience, you know what it is to be a mom that you cannot read from a book.
Well, and the listening starts there. A
Yes.
a child is an excellent a newborn is an incredible communicator.
Incredible
Children.
communicator.
Can I tell you another one of my stories
Please,
about listening?
please.
So I totally missed a whole part of who my son was. So I like to tell, like, my children are my greatest teachers. I just have to say, and I love that perception and that way of being with them. Eric, still in diapers, so walking, maybe 18 months. Just a happy smile. It just and all the things that you're talking about parenting, was me. Working and while I'm home based, I'm doing something I love. I'm still putting out all day and not sleeping because he's still nursing and I'm still heeding those calls and it's on his schedule. It's not mine, so it doesn't matter. Get up, feed. All the things. And then sandwich generation, caring for my elderly parents and their end of life journeys. All that stuff was in that time frame, and it came to changing diapers. And Eric, every time, I'm not kidding, every single time not his dad, every time I needed to change his diapers, he would take off running, little hands in the air, running, howling, laughing his head off. And I would get so activated, so angry. I didn't even, there was no listening. There was no responding to him because the doing was what had to happen. You need your diaper changed. I have like 5 minutes between clients and your dad is, whatever. So
Yeah.
so I sat with that. I actually can't remember what I think. Oh, and then I would count to three. So he'd run around the house and he'd giggle and he'd laugh and he'd be screaming and it's all fun and games. And
To
and
you at that
then
point of time.
yeah, yeah. And then that would carry on for the length of time that I would allow it. I just let him go. And then it'd be, okay, Eric, this has to happen now. Three, two, serious voice. And I never got to one. He always came back and lay down and it was all, but that was the thing. And I'm like, what is this? And then I think my coach at the time actually said, well, what is he trying to tell you? And when she said tell, I went, I'm not listening. Like, what is he doesn't have the words. He's not talking yet fully. What is he saying?
And
And
if we could only listen to what they, and as
like,
you said, they talk
it
in a
was
different.
miraculous. He wanted to play with me. And he
Yes.
knew he had my attention. Brilliant. Like 18 months old, like just learning to walk. Brilliant. And I started waking up earlier with him, spending 10 minutes playing with him.
Missed
That
you. You missed you,
behavior
right? Right.
completely stopped.
Yes.
I
Amen.
didn't have to do anything. I didn't have to behavior modify. I didn't have to. It
Oh,
was
Lorraine, that's
really
beautiful. That's a
a
beautiful.
heart center. So yeah, I wasn't sure. It kept coming up as you were talking. I've just got to
No,
turn my
that's
feet up.
yeah, yeah, absolutely,
Um,
absolutely.
but
That's a
yeah,
brilliant, beautiful example. Brilliant, beautiful example.
so I could
And
have kept leaning in and pressing in and doing different tactics, but
what
it's not. I wasn't
and what will happen? He will start acting out more
Yes.
because he missed you. Probably you work all day. He this needed mom to connect with, to really connect with, not connecting over the
To
agenda,
play. He's
to
all about
play.
play. He
Yeah,
still is at
yeah,
17.
yeah,
He's
yeah.
still all about play.
If we didn't grow up to be a doing people,
We would too.
we would want to play too. And here's the deal. We can play with whatever what we do if we attended to the vibration that needs to be attended, including ourselves.
Okay.
You and I are doing that. We're doing that again. You're a coach, I'm a therapist. I think we love what we're doing. We love giving people that. If if we did that because we have to or because with that, we wouldn't want to go, no matter who it is. You don't want to do that because it becomes a to do and another thing to do. And even the thing that we might like, just like spending time with our kids, becomes a chore. It's like, my goodness, I'm tired. Mom is tired. Now he wanted to play, and mom also a person.
Yeah.
And I think that at the time, if that's where we talk about co-regulation also. It's not necessarily an exercise, but my hope that we have somebody to go to, like let's say your husband was there, and if he could, to tell him, like, for example, Brian, I'm so much, I can, there's nothing in me right now to that, and I don't want to hurt the kid just by being there and not being there. And if he was a bit more available at that point of time, then the kid would have a playtime with dad. And when mom actually after that rested a bit, then mom would feel better, immediately has a different quality of relationship.
100%. And just in this situation, the reason that behavior didn't happen with Brian is because Brian did spend time, did spend that quality. And what's interesting is that that is Eric's love language now, is quality time.
Yeah.
So interesting. I was listening to you, and you brought up, and at the very beginning of this, we were talking about the neuroscience. So I'm wondering, from that big brain of yours, if you can pull some of what we've been talking about together in the neuroscience aspect of things. So you're talking left brain. So what's the, I guess I don't even know if I need to ask a question, but I'm curious, just
I will
curious
go with
about
it. I
the
will go
right
with it.
brain
Yes.
neuroscience perspective, and
Yes.
because I think I know what you're going to say, but I don't know the science of it like you do.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. And that's something, just Lorraine, to say that we're scratching the surface today of neuroscience, but I'd like to give people at least the baseline of really what's happening. So the left brain is more like when we think about things, well, it's kind of the computer part of the
Mhm.
brain.
Mhm.
It's all the to do
It's
comes
our
from,
virtual, it's our assistant. It's
it's
the
our assistant.
life
Exactly. It's
admin, all the, yeah.
there. It's like, it's the to do is always there. It's the thoughts, it's the processing is all there. The right brain too, but that's mainly the left brain. The right brain, for us, the sake of our conversation, is where the emotions reside. It's
Mm.
where the in just a little bit about quantum physics, there is like, when there is like a laser, kind of like when we are observing reality, we create our reality. So the reality that you can wake up in the morning and say, oh, what a beautiful day, and look at this sun and the trees, and somebody else next to you can wake up in the morning and look outside, and it says like, oh my God, nothing moves. It's just another day. And even actually feel horrible because it's so beautiful outside, and they feel so horrible inside. That it just, how many people sometimes going on vacation to have a break, but then they face themselves and they take themselves anywhere and they feel even way worse than they
Yeah.
came from home. So it's really the internal world that is dictating, the right brain is that dictate really how we view the world,
Mhm.
you know? So the right brain is more about the timeless, what we call in quantum physics superposition. Everything is nothing or all. And when we are putting our eyes into it, so to speak, not the physical eyes, but how we are, then we construct the world, how we see the world. So that is more of the right brain that is kind of amorphic. It doesn't have any agenda other than the agenda there is inside already. So if
Mhm.
we have wounds from the past that are not healed from long time ago, long time ago, as you said, from being toddler and sometimes not being
Mhm.
attended to the way we needed, we develop those injuries inside, those holes.
But also the adaptations.
Also the adaptation,
Yeah.
we also get those skills to survive.
Yeah. Yeah.
So those, but it's surviving skills. It's protections, it's defenses, while inside we might feel very different. So the outside might be adaptation and surviving skills, performance skills that get us to think this is how we get what we think
Yeah.
that we
That's
need.
how we get, yeah, fascinating. Yeah.
But inside we need might something very different. So that's why you see a lot of very rich people or a lot of like leaders that, I talked, you talked,
Mhm.
and they're kind of like some of them are completely in the terms of like money and all that inflation, but they're not really happy inside. Some of them recognize I have all of this and I can't stand my life. They
Mhm.
realize I can't stand my life, while other people look at them, the to-do people, because that's what the society kind of like
Yes.
broadcasting is like, oh, I so much want to be them. Little do they know that they have everything and they have nothing.
It's interesting language. I want to be them, but the doing of them,
Exactly. Exactly.
you know,
Exactly.
but that's actually what it's really interesting.
Exactly. Little do
Fascinating.
they know. I happen to know. Like
Yeah.
paparazzi knew that what I had, what I know,
Yeah.
what the because I know them intimately. The people that are very rich in the TV and all that. So they play the game too of what they have. They have a nice family, they take photos and all that, and then this mention and that mention. But inside there is coldness. There is like, and they know that, and they just don't know to tell me what to do. At the beginning, they would come to tell me what to do because that's what they how they were um, programmed in a way to go to the to do thing. And that's the left brain.
Yes, and so then you continue to I really appreciate what you're offering because the instinct, the drive is to, to keep trying to fix the thing with more doing. And what you're saying is that actually isn't the way. That's what I find in coaching. So I talk about
No,
feeling forward and sometimes just being seen, being heard, having that, whether it's a wound, not that, for coaching, the past, of course, comes up because it influences the present and who the person is, like you're talking in all the ways that you've just been sharing. And sometimes it's enough for someone just to say the thing and be witnessed, and then it goes.
most of the time it
I,
is that's
like to
enough.
be
That's
heard.
the one. That's the one that is enough. Because
Yeah.
when we do actually listen, and I found it throughout my time because as a therapist at the beginning, as a young therapist, I wanted to fix things just like
Yeah.
any newbie, and then I relaxed into myself, with the therapy that I did on myself and on development.
Mhm.
Now I mostly listen because when you listen, you actually then again the right brain then again look at it as if it's a reservoir, a pitcher with a reservoir that based on our past experiences, there's the early trauma that takes room from there. So the pitcher is also smaller. The room is smaller. Some of us had much more trauma, so we're constantly surviving. We don't have room. We're just clearing sometimes the edges so it won't spill, so we can survive.
Mhm.
And as we are treating those wounds, and that can be in the here and now also. That's by
Mhm.
what we're suggesting, just listening. It's also cleaning the then and there. So when we do, we clear up that space inside, and then we have more access to the left brain to think more clearly. So we think sometimes we're helping by somebody by telling them what to do. We just clutter their system even more, and they are getting just more overwhelmed rather than have access to their own resources inside.
Yeah. Yes, and I do want to also build on what you're saying because the act of not listening and meeting someone in doing who actually is looking to heal or connect or wanting to reveal aspect or be heard. They want to be heard. They need to be seen and heard. Um, Perpetuates that sense of,
Yes.
oh well, and almost maybe even a sense of hopelessness where
Yeah.
you know, there's an ache or an itch they can't scratch or make, like just a sense of, okay, I'm here for something, but if that therapist, that coach is not available because they're in their right brain,
Left
they're
brain.
in
The left brain.
their
Left brain.
left brain, and all tangled up in there about their performance, about that, then it is a ball about them. They cannot hear or see because they're in that space of getting their needs met. So
Exactly right.
that is a very um uh, it speaks to a lot of what I am seeing
Yeah.
as the coaching field really explodes and expands, is that the even the teaching of listening has been, it's a 4-week course. What
Exactly.
what so
Yes.
the and I also it's slightly misplaced now, but I really didn't want to interrupt you, so I'm going to trust that it's meaningful now.
Oh,
As
absolutely. Keep going.
my favorite quote that everything I say comes with a story, but we don't have time for the story today, and it's really not relevant. Or maybe it is, but
Well,
for
but
another
we can
day.
do that next time. We have time.
But the quote, it's of course I don't speak Latin, but I wish I did because that would make it really cool for this podcast. But the quote is from Herodotus, a philosopher from something like 83 AD. So the only reason I'm saying that is because it's the human condition, and it's the quote is from that long ago. And the quote is, "They change their skies, not their souls,
Oh,
those who run across the sea." You referenced okay, you go for holiday and then you face yourself and you feel horrible, and you like it, you just want to, like, wait a minute, I thought I was escaping all of this. Or COVID was really difficult for people because everything slowed down and the doing stopped.
exactly.
Everything stopped in a
Yes.
really heightened way,
Yeah.
intense way.
Yeah.
And we're facing each other, and we're
Yes.
with each other, and we're not allowed to leave. Very interesting times.
Very interesting.
um, and what happened, my practice filled up during COVID because I had a lot of people that needed support to help navigate the different things that were showing up in that space. but
So,
but
yeah.
so the quote is really speaking to what
Oh, yeah.
we're
It's beautiful.
um because if I'm not listening to self, I think that's also really coming through, is the interplay, the interrelatedness, the relational aspect of
Being together.
listening. And
Yeah.
I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge the amount of times you said presence at the beginning again and brought that forward, because the capacity to be present has to be a
Yes.
right brain activity.
Has to. And as and yes, and the bottom line in that, and then I think the next time we will continue with that because we didn't get all the neuroscience that we said, but
Yeah.
that in order to be present, there needs to be capability, and if the right brain is not capable, it's overwhelmed. We are full, so to speak. There is
That
no
fullness.
way we can be present. So, and being present is being present for everything. And then I'm so grateful that you mentioned the pandemic and all of that. We were forced to stop. And
Mm.
then what happened in the beginning? Everybody that we couldn't see each other physically, but everybody was connecting, just joking and smoke and all that kind of like just connecting. It just
And
brought
Zoom
us in
went
a way.
bananas. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because we were just kind of like, what I don't,
Ah,
I'm bored.
but at the same time, Netflix went bananas, which
Yes.
is a disconnect.
Yes. Yes. Right. Right. Oh,
Interest.
oh, people will try to. So you said about the perpetuate, which I didn't attend to it. You kept mentioning something so important,
Mm,
that the perpetuation,
mm,
when we are formed as human beings in the early ages, especially the
mm,
first 2 years, but all the way also to teenager and kind of late teenager, which today we know doesn't end until 28, 29.
mm, mm,
The brain is still shaping itself.
mm.
But way before we shape our personality based on our experiences. So
Mhm.
if we kind of learned inside that that people attend us because we perform, that's what we're going to do and that's what we're going to trust.
Mm.
So if we got that I'm by myself, there's no one else that actually listened to me, then if more of that our parents, the people that we trusted the most, if they didn't listen to that, that's what we think the whole world is, and then we try to find exactly what we don't need because we trust that nobody's there for us.
Mm.
So we end up trying to get exactly what we didn't think, but we don't trust. Like that's why so many of my clients used to say, I'm using drugs, I don't want to take antidepressants, I don't take any pharmaceutical. I don't trust this pharmaceutical, but they trust the drugs that they grew up
Buy
on
on
that
the
protected
street that could be laced on.
that they
Yeah,
protect, but they could trust because they had experiences with that.
right.
So they looked more of this to this direction than to trust somebody even like me that is very unfamiliar to them.
Yeah.
That's the challenge, is to actually
Mm.
put yourself out there in a way that may be against your experience, because you might experience that nobody's there for you. Why would you actually trust? And then there is capability, like your kid might, because of your experience, that they might act in a way that you understand them, that's in this age, and they kind of like, oh my God, they're scared to death, and you're not, because you have experiences that things are okay. You can tell them, oh, don't be scared, learn from my experience. Do you think it's going to help them? They're going to be terrified because they just saw a spider, and spiders are not doing anything. Let's say that you're not scared of spiders, but they're terrified. So you can tell, oh, sweetie, it's really, well, it's okay to say that, sweetie, it's okay, because you calm them down. But if you say, oh, it's not a big deal, just get over it in another way, they're going to be scared. They're going to be, nobody's comforting them. That fear is going to permeate all the way to adults. And it's just a small spider example, you know,
Mm.
but,
Yeah, yeah.
and then they're going to seek more of what they didn't have. And that's why people perpetuate that. And
Mm.
that goes into the different subject in neuroscience, which is the implicit memories. But I think that that's something that we will talk next week.
Well, yes, yeah. So I really am excited about all the things we've talked about here. And what's stuck in my mind is this continuum of listening and that it's contained in presence. So presence is the birthplace of listening, but there's also an awareness of listening. So, I have no awareness,
Yes.
and I know people like that too, where it's like I can't get a word in edgewise. And I find just by being in that space, I'm uncomfortable because I'm waiting for my turn to talk. And I'm like, wait a minute. That's not, wait, I don't,
Yeah,
that's not where I'm coming from. But that, there is, you say we're scratching the surface. We are
we're
scratching the
scratching the
surface, but
surface. It's so important.
complexity, the way everything is related
Yes.
and fascinating. I meet people in a coaching space where I see them whole, resourceful, and capable, and what needs to emerge does, because I'm not in that space of trauma therapy. That's not what I'm, skilled to do. Um, and yet there are several times where I do need to refer my clients out, and have always had a therapist of some kind in my network so that I can do that I trust. um it's really fascinating. I'm really happy that
So
uh
important, and we'll start scratching the surface. But you
yeah.
know what? The thing is that if I was just thinking as you were talking, um, because you said something very important about there is need to be acknowledged that we are need to be mindful of that. You know that in mindfulness there is like a meta, we call meta, like
Mm.
awareness of the awareness.
Yeah.
Sometimes just kind of stop and say, am I listening? Can I listen? Do,
Yeah.
do they listen to me? Just to be aware of what's happening. Just that is also immediately doing wonders. That's without even looking at the things that are blocking us on regular basis. But so many times just kind of stop and say, like, am I actually capable of listening?
Mm.
Or I'm torturing myself and disconnect from the other
Mm.
within the name of doing the right thing.
Mm.
And I think that next time we can dive into a little bit more how the brain is functioning and how is it shaped to as we
Mm,
become adults. What are the things that kind of build up that implicit memory, which was the sum of the experiences that we had up until now, that gets us to be right now who you are and who I am.
mhm,
This is important because if we start being mindful of them, then we can start clearing that emotion, that picture, and create more room on regular basis. That won't need to do so much. You'll just be in the here and now effortlessly. And
mhm.
the benefits and the results are going to be like this. Easy.
Well, ease and impact.
Exactly.
It's where it lives, and it's completely contrary to what we have been taught, what we believe, or what we've been
Man,
conditioned for,
it's so true, Lorraine.
Yeah.
It's exactly against all the society that is operating
Mm,
right now that we
mm,
all kind of fed up and learn not to trust.
yeah.
Not our government, not
Well, we've
we're
given
just
up so much,
we're giving up,
and
right? And
then
not
been
being
betrayed.
listened and not being listened to.
Yeah.
And not being listened.
And as adults, we give up our sovereignty to government and to, and it's just what we do. But also, if I'm not listening, I'm not questioning. My curiosity is not
Very
intact.
true.
It's not,
Very
it all
all
ties up
interconnected.
together, and it's so organic and it's so embedded and it's so,
Yes.
I tell coaches that coaching skills are humanness skills. I think I've said that on another, like that's just the language I use in my education, um I love how we're like getting at that,
It's
like
basically
doing
kind of
that.
simple. We just need to simple and so hard because we're conditioned
Yeah.
differently. Just to allow ourselves
But
just to
be
be people.
present, just
Yeah.
be. Listen, you don't have to do anything, you're enough. Like that's in common knowledge now. There's lots of research and language and people making money off the idea that we're enough. That's
Right.
research.
Right. And
um
here's the deal though. So many of us grew up not to feel that we are
so
enough.
we can think it, we can read the books, but unless we do the work, the belief
Not gonna happen.
is not going to
You're just
happen.
gonna stress yourself more to be something that you just don't
Yeah,
need. It's like putting
yeah,
yourself on a treadmill when you need to actually walk forward.
yeah. Oh, that put yourself on a treadmill when you need to move forward. That is really poignant, potent, and a great way to end. All right. Well, this was fun.
That was
So until next time.
until next time, and maybe next time we can continue because there is much more to say about that. I think it will find people. It's not only listening; it's just being present, and all the thing that hampers us to get
Mm,
there. So we can actually talk and being with that will
mhm,
maybe enable people to start reflect and start doing the internal work in order to get to where they actually really want to.
Well, my hope is that our conversation here has evoked some introspection, some
Me too.
potential. I mean, it has for me as well. I, what stops me from being present? What is presence? What does it
Right.
mean? Like
Right.
just getting curious about that.
And I would love to attend to that also, Lorraine, to what it means to be present,
Mm,
because we are present with whatever it is that comes to us at that point of time, rather than what we think that we want to or we
mm,
need to.
mhm.
And that's why I'm saying, like, sometimes we're present to the wounds inside that are aching and you're anxious, something is stirring. That's what present to you, rather than when
Yeah.
you want to be there for your kid. But how can you be there for your kid, for your employee, for yourself when you don't have yourself and
Mhm,
yourself is suffering? So I think this is something that we want to keep have the conversation, and it's true to listening, it's true to present in so many ways. And what are the things that we carried ourselves that just it's hard so many times to go through one day, then we get tired and we're supposed, and then it's almost everything becomes to do, including the thing that we might have liked becomes to do, and then we don't sleep well, blah 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 blah.
All right.
We'll keep doing more of the blah 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 next time,
We'll do more blah
and
blah blah. All right.